Good evening, race fans. My name's Phineas Simmons. Welcome to the Old Bastards Metro Ford Racing League for round 21 here at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle. The qualified race information for today. You can see a very different track than what we're used to in NASCAR, only having 3 corners being named the Tricky Triangle because it's so quick, but also so tricky to also manage your tyres as well. So we're jumping into qualifying here tonight at Pocono. I'm definitely excited for this one. It's going to be an interesting race. The track does promote very, very close and interesting racing. So we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out for tonight. As we just pull up our NASCAR timing tower here tonight. Unfortunately, we are having problems once again with actually viewing our cars on track for qualifying. Just have to give you a quick run through what's going on. We do apologise from the broadcast booth as always. We'll see if we can get this fixed for later events. However, we're just waiting for our drivers to set our first times of the night. Once again though, having 3 corners as well. Turn 3 is a very, very weird one as well. It can get very, very loose on the exit, and it's very, very easy to over push on that right rear tyre, which definitely means that the tyre life will be much shortened on these cars, and you won't be able to go as long on your stint, which could mean you're at risk because you'll be slower than the cars around you if they've been able to manage their tyres better. As it looks like we're having Steve the Mule Thompson in the 6-7 machine sets the time to beat 54.44 here tonight. The closest competitor of Eddie Jones, 1.8 tenths behind in the number 14 car. Currently Steve Mule Thompson in the Toyota Camry as well. We're waiting for some of our kit drivers to lay down some lap times. Tom Ogle, a guy you see time and time again near the top. Maybe not so much in qualifying, but in the race, he works his way through the pack very, very quickly and efficiently. And you always see him in that sort of top 5 kind of podium positions. Or be very interested to see if he manages to get a good qualifying in here tonight. However, Steve Thompson still remains on that pole position on the top spot for now. As we're working our way. So about halfway through the qualifying session, only 8 drivers have set a time here tonight. Majority of the drivers haven't set a time quite yet on this Thursday afternoon. Oh, no, it's not a Thursday. Apologies, it is a Sunday. We won't talk about that one. As Pishka also set a time in number 1 machine, coming to 6th, 7 tenths behind the leader. So you can see it's definitely a very technical track compared to some of these other ovals like Talladega and Daytona, where you don't have to lift and it's all about the line you take, and you just see qualifying pretty much like the whole top 10 within sort of a tenth, 2 tenths of each other. However though, you could see at this track, there's a lot of braking zones, and braking zones are also slow corners. Slow corners is where you gain the time, whether you dive later on the brakes, carry more speed into the corner, whilst not compromising your exit, is a lot more skillful, and you'll definitely see bigger gaps between these drivers. As it looks like Brian Lindsay comes back on with a 24 in the number 24 machine, just under a tenth below Steve Thompson. So at the moment, Steve Thompson is staying in that pole position as it stands. Still over half our drivers here tonight not setting a time yet. Maybe they're waiting a bit later on in the session to see what times they've got to aim for, and then push on later on to meet those times. 2/10 of a second separate your top three at the moment. However, I'm seeing some really, really quick drivers in that sort of bottom half of the field, which I'm very excited to see what kind of lap times they can put on the board. Now then, it is round 21 of the series here today at Pocono as well. One of the tricky tracks, as I've mentioned before. However, compared to kind of what we usually see, it's definitely a lot different. It offers a different kind of racing and it offers different kind of driving styles. You have to drive this track so differently compared to others because there are corners which is very, very easy to over push on that right front. And also equivalently very, very easy to under push and then lose time in the long stint. As we're getting word from the drivers, 33 to 38 laps of fuel, depending on shifting. So it depends whether these drivers choose to shift down because there are 5 gears and it is a sequential gearbox in next Gen 7 Cup cars, which could pose a little bit of a difference in terms of how drivers want to manage it. It looks like in practice, it looks like overtaking is being a little bit more difficult than what we usually see out here tonight. So it looks like we may go single file pretty quickly. However, I'll be interested to see if drivers do choose to take down that extra gear back from 5th down to 4th gear, maybe into turn 1 or into turn 3. However, though, with those higher revs, you do end up burning more fuel. So if you can keep it in the higher gear, keep those revs nice and low, you will be able to save a little bit more fuel and maybe go the extra 1 or 2 laps in the long stint, which will get you onto the higher end of that 33 to lap 38 pit window. So now approaching the tail end of the session, Tom Ogle, the man, the myth, the legend, the number 11 car, just over a 10th behind Steve Thompson there. So it looks like your top 5, your top 6 all separated by 1/10 or 2/10 of a second as Dwayne MacArthur and Ready 3 machines at the time, which is enough for provisionally 5th place. Some quick drivers not quite getting their times here tonight. Steve Thompson with an absolutely stellar time. No one can really match it as it stands, as drivers are now putting in their time for the majority, as we're now coming to the end of the qualifying session. Only a couple more seconds to go, so I think that will be your starting order here tonight. As we approach 10 seconds remaining, there's still quite a lot of drivers there who haven't chosen to take their qualifying lap just yet. I'm interested to see maybe if they invalidated, maybe if they hit the wall, getting a 0x, or maybe just backed out of their laps because it wasn't quite good enough. As it looks like Brian Lindsay still and Dwayne MacArthur both within 1/10 of a second. So getting a little bit closer to Steve Thompson. However, that 54.44 not quite achievable. Some of these drivers here tonight. Qualifying pace is very, very different to race pace though. Putting it together on the one lap is one thing, but if you can hold it for the entire race is a completely different skill on its own and requires so much skill and precision from the drivers that you'll probably see some differences. Some drivers who are very, very good on the one lap pace may try and stretch ahead and burn those tyres up really, really quickly. And that means they maybe start to drop back and won't have the pace on the tail end of the stint. And the drivers who'd save their tyres just a little bit better, we'll see, come sailing through as Greg McDaniel in a 30 machine goes into the second place spot. As second, third, and fourth, all separated by 1/1000th of a second apiece, all within 1/10 of a second of Steve Thompson and the 67. Most of our drivers here tonight have put down a lap time. I think there's only possibly around about 5 drivers left who haven't set a time yet. 22 drivers on the timing board as it stands. Let us know from the chat who you're cheering on here tonight, who you're excited to see getting those good results. or want to cheer on to maybe give him those extra few tenths of a second that he needs to possibly get further ahead in this race here tonight. So then, qualifying has finished, and here's our grid order here tonight at Pocono. So starting on that pole position, Stephen Thompson on the outside. Oh, yeah, in the top spot. Followed by Greg McDaniel on second, Brian Lindsay in third, Dwayne MacArthur in fourth. Followed by Tom Ogle, the man, the myth, legend in fifth place. James Waldo starting sixth, Eddie Jones starting seventh, Al Turner starting eighth, Mike Schrader starting ninth, Michael Watts rounding out the top 10. These Worsdale starting in 11th, followed by Darryl Weininger starting in 12th place. Followed by Lloyd Moore starting 13th, Rick Nitz starting 14th, followed by Brian Lynch in 15th, John Hinchcliffe starting 16th, Bushme starting 7th, Larry Corey starting 18th, followed by Dakota Pishka, Robert Garasco running out your top 20, Chris Clark starting 21st, Jeff Miller starting 22nd, Donnie Sanders starting 23rd, Jason Fellenbaum starting 24th. As we reach the tail end of the grid, Ken Huff, followed by John Hastings starting 27th. Chris Sidnall starting 28th, Brian Williams 29th, and to run out the grid here tonight, Johnny Jackson in the number 109 from Florida. That is your grid here tonight, as we're now watching our drivers as they're about to roll out of pit road for the 85 lap race here tonight. Very long laps though at Pocono, around about 50 seconds I believe. Just over 50 seconds, so it means that 85 laps isn't going to go very quickly. We'll see how many cautions we get, and how clean this race will be will determine how long this is going to be. But I think we're in for a long one today, folks, on this Sunday afternoon of the Metro 4 Cup Series. Only a couple of minutes to go before the green flag. Well, it's an exciting race. Drivers now rolling out of pit road as we follow that iRacing pace car. As it looks like they're losing one a little bit early, causing a little bit of a pile-up in pit road. Drivers having to slow down because of it. But it looks like now we're off to a good start. As always, iRacing restart zones are in action here tonight. Meaning that on the main start of the race, beginning, as soon as that leader gets into that restart zone, the green flag will be waved by the waiver at a random point, commencing the beginning of the race. And it's how well those drivers on the inside and the outside can get, or this pretty much about reaction times really, how quickly they can hit the loud pedal and get going here tonight. Just a reminder, Steve Thompson will be on that inside line as you see him. Greg McDaniel in the Kimball Camaro Chevrolet Camaro, excuse me, on that outside line. Which one of these guys will get a good start here tonight as they're making our way out of turn 2 onto the backstretch. It's a very, very long backstretch here today at Pocono, and it's a good opportunity for drafting. However, really into turn 3, or turn 2 really, is a very, very difficult place to overtake, but so is turn 3. You can maybe truck one up the inside, but around the outside, unless you have fresher tyres, isn't really the way to go. It's very, very tricky to get that move done. 67 machine now rolling out of turn 3, getting ready to go for the green flag here tonight at Pocono. His pace car ducks down into pit road. And the green flag flies here at Pocono. Both the inside line and the outside line getting a pretty good start there, but it looks like, I believe that is the 24 of Brian Lindsay on the inside line. Not quite getting in behind Steve Thompson, so we won't have the help into turn 1. And because of that, Greg McDaniel round the outside is still putting up a challenge. Door to door they are, coming out of turn 1. Who will come out on top? They're both too wide going down the backstretch. Dwayne MacArthur now, kind of behind them both. And they're splitting the lanes, not really choosing which way to go, just taking the optimal line. And maybe take advantage of something that happens, but on the inside line, it looks like Steve Thompson was able to get the move stuck. As you look further back, Brian Lindsay in the 24 machine, also able to make up a place. Tom Ogle also getting past the 89. of James Waldo. James Waldo not having the best of starts. He was up to begin with, but now he's starting to slowly fall back as it looks like that Brian Lindsay ducking out of the draft as he's going. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Either way, it's given our drivers a massive boost as Michael Watts is at 4 spots from where he started already in the 84 machine on the track that's such hard to overtake. That is brilliant work from him as we look further back, or further forward, excuse me. Dwayne MacArthur trying to shove one down the inside of Greg McDaniel into turn 1 and still sort of side by side coming into turn 2. Who will have the inside line? Who will get the edge into turn 2? Greg McDaniel has the outside line. Dwayne MacArthur on the inside in the Bass Pro Shops machine as it looks like McDaniel's able to edge it, but Tom Ogle is right behind them already in the 11 machine. With a good start from him, he's looking to bring up some more positions. We know he's very quick and he's very good at looking after his tyres, so I'm sure we'll see some more action from him as we round out turn 3 to round out lap 2 here tonight at Pocono. We battle slightly further back as it looks like it is the 15 of Dwayne Weininger, or Darrell Weininger, excuse me, on the outside line. As it looks like the 4 just has to settle in behind. Mike Schrader down 1 spot from where he started. So losing that spot to Darrell Weininger is now up 3 spots from where he began. Steve Neal Thompson with the fastest lap of the race with a 54.9, 2 tenths quicker than his nearest rival Greg McDaniel here in second place. So far we're still green flag racing here at Pocono and it's looking pretty solid already. 2 tenths the gap between our leaders as now the gap starts to spread out a little bit. We go more single file, not as many overtakes going on as it looks like the front pack is starting to form. There's a big gap between Jones and Turner. So it looks like your top 7 is kind of where that front pack is going to be. However though, lap 33 to 38 is where that pit stop's going to come. Predicted 1 or 2 stop strategies. It really depends how they want to play it. It looks like it would be a 2-stop strategy as it stands, but with some cautions they may be able to stretch to a 1-stop, but those tyres are going to be very old, so I do think 2-stop is going to be the preferred strategy here tonight, which means you can play about with it just a little bit more, because you can pit 33 laps into the stint, or you can pit 15 laps in and choose to take that stint. At shorter stint somewhere else, if you feel like you're being slowed down by the traffic around you, you can choose to pit earlier or a little bit later than the drivers around you. Just surround yourself with quicker drivers to help yourself kind of build that gap, and whilst you're not alongside them, you can gain the time, so once you pit, you'll come out ahead. Going back once again, Weininger is battling with Hinchcliffe, as it looks like Hinchcliffe on the outside line has the edge coming out of turn 1 in number 8 machine. 15 of Weininger on the inside, not looking like he'd be able to put much of a fight, as it looks like the 8 runs into the back of the 4 there. Schrader blocking off the run, as it gives Weininger another chance coming into turn 2. As we've seen, the outside line does look very strong through here, but if you can chuck one down the inside, there's contact between the drivers. Weininger settles for the place behind, and now he's under threat from the 99 of Lee Worsdale. Brian Lynch also down the inside of Worsdale behind. So Brian Lynch taking advantage of that in the number 9 Hooters machine, rolling up those spots, now 2 spots from where he started. As we go back to our leaders, 1/10 is the gap, a little bit behind as well. Who is that? It looks like the 89 of Waldo is under threats from Michael Watts, who's on an absolute charge here tonight, now 5 spots from where he started in the NT4 Ford Mustang here tonight. He's driving a good race so far, but you've got to think, these drivers bringing up loads of positions. Are they pushing too hard on those tyres to begin with? Which will mean later on in the stint they won't have that pace which I was talking about. You need to make sure you keep your tyres and save. Don't take, or so actually there's pretty good analogy for tyre saving. So if you think about it, you'll give them £1 by your parents for sweetie money. Are you going to buy one massive £1 gobstopper and then have that and you'll be satisfied for around about 5 to 10 minutes? Or will you be smart and spend that money on 10 different smaller lollipops so you're enjoying it for the whole day? So you deserve, or do you think you want more pace to begin with i.e. having that gobstopper to begin with, edging out that gap, but then not having the pace later on in the stint because you have no more sweets left? Or are you going to have 10 little lollipops and keep that consistency and that pace up and be happy for the whole day? As we're seeing Greg McDaniel trying to get down the inside of Thompson. Thompson still holding lead in 67 machine. McDaniel isn't quite able to get past it. It looks like Ogle and MacArthur are having a little bit of a tussle there. Tom Ogle pushing the 83. As he's trying to maybe build a gap so he doesn't have to worry about the cars behind him, so he can focus on the battles ahead. 4th place he is now, but the 11 machine pulls to the inside line, going down the main straightaway. To begin that 8 of 85, he'll have the inside line going into turn 1. It looks like he doesn't quite have the draft. And has to settle back in. As it looks like Watts having a little bit of a look down the inside. But Ogle had that covered. Now then, Ogle does have a run once again. But it looks like he'll be too far back to make a move into turn 2. We've already gone single file here tonight on that 8 of 85 of the Metro 4 Cup Series round 21. So now rounding out turn 3. Not going to ride on board with Dwayne MacArthur here tonight, or correction, Greg McDaniel in 2nd place in the 30 machine. I'm sorry, the mucks at the beginning of the name is getting me confused. You can see 5th gear of Daniel is choosing through turn 2. We'll have to wait and see what gears he selects, but it looks like the higher gears here tonight will help you save fuel. So if you can stay in those higher gears, you'll be advantage to the cars around you who maybe aren't running in that 5th gear, because anytime he does lose through the corners by running the higher gear, he'll be able to get back in the draft. So this is a perfect opportunity to save some fuel and give him an edge into the pit stops, as it looks like, or usually here tonight, fuel is only just about the limiting factor. But if you pull out that tiny little limiting factor at the end by saving that little bit of fuel, although your pit stop will still be 12, 13, 14 seconds, you're saving around about just a couple tenths, maybe to a second, which could mean the difference between getting out in front of your competitors on pit road, which will be a massive, massive thing. Or even just being able to go the extra lap. Going the extra lap on light fuel will be much, much better than going out onto that heavy fuel and possibly into traffic if you're at the front. But it looks like McDaniel is choosing to stay in that 1st gear here tonight, which seems like it is, or correct, the 5th gear. I must be really tired here tonight. I have done some endurance racing, and I have just done a 4-hour stint at the Spa 24, so I am very, very tired. I do apologise if I do make any mistakes in this broadcast, and try my best, I promise. As it looks like our top 5 are kind of breaking away here tonight. That's Thompson, McDaniel, MacArthur, Ogle, and Watts, your top 5 here tonight. As Ogle still trying moves. MacArthur moves to the inside to defend. Ogle chooses the outside. Figures out it doesn't quite work. As it looks like McDaniel gets a pretty bad run coming out of turn 1. Here comes Ogle and MacArthur on the inside line. Working together, bumper to rear bumper. They're coming down into turn 2. MacArthur has the edge. Will Ogle have the edge coming into turn 3? As we're 2 wide, 2 back in 2x2 formation. McDaniel has the edge of MacArthur, but MacArthur has the all-important inside line. McDaniel pushes that outside line. MacArthur uses the inside. We'll have the better exit. They're still 2x2. McDaniel has the edge. MacArthur once again has the inside line, but as we saw, the outside line can be quite powerful here tonight, and McDaniel also has the draft of Stu Thompson ahead. So it looks like McDaniel is able to stay ahead. As we look further back once again, Dwayne MacArthur is now side by side with Tom Ogle. Correction, Michael Watts. Tom Ogle just behind in the 11. Michael Watts capitalising on both Tom Ogle and Dwayne MacArthur, going up 2 more spots here tonight. That goes from 5 spots to 7 spots from where he began. Michael Watts starting 10th, now in 3rd here tonight. There's a still green flag on lap 12 of 85. Reaching near the halfway point of the stint here tonight as Tom Ogle looks down the inside of Watts here. So they're too wide once again, but Watts will have the draft of McDaniel. But it looks like MacArthur has pulled out to help Tom Ogle on the inside line. And I think they're teammates and they're working together this race. It looks like the hard work is paying off. Ogle is past Watts in the 84 machine. So Watts back down those 2 spots once again. Still up 5 spots from where he started. In P5 here tonight. McDaniel is back on Thompson though. After a little bit of battling before, Thompson is still on it. The thing is though, has he saved his tyres or has he burned them up too early? The driver in that 67 machine is in a bit of a spot at the moment because he doesn't have anyone in front of him to go off and see the lines. Everyone is going off him when it comes to the pit stops as well. Everyone will be going off him and his pace. He doesn't know if the drivers behind are holding off and saving their tyres until the end of the race. We do know that Thompson does have good single lap pace as he did grab the pole here tonight and he is still in first place. But has he sacrificed lap time for tyre wear? Because we know there are some drivers in this league that aren't the best qualifiers, but sure can they put in a performance in the race. As a bumper to bumper with our top 4 here tonight, Watts does have another look down the inside of Ogle in the back of the screen. However, they all stay in line. Thompson, McDaniel, MacArthur, Ogle, Watts, your top 5. As Ogle and MacArthur break away from the pack once again, as they're working together to maybe get past McDaniel coming into turn 1. MacArthur on the inside once again, McDaniel on the outside. MacArthur and Ogle working beautifully together there. As it looks like MacArthur has been able to get past McDaniel. Ogle is challenging as well. MacArthur comes out to help his teammate in the 11, tow him down. But it looks like McDaniel's gone deep into turn 3 to maybe hold the position, but it's given Tom Ogle the inside line. They're now too wide coming down onto the front stretch, and surely MacArthur is going to pull to the inside, which he does. McDaniel is left out to dry in the 30. All he has is the tow from Thompson ahead. Will he be able to hold it coming into turn 2? I think Ogle is ahead. No, they're still too wide. McDaniel on the outside line, I think, is about to wedge him out, as he does on the outside line. So the outside line is looking very, very strong. You can't really overtake down the inside of turn 1. James Waldo having a look down the inside. The 89 machine all over the back of Eddie Jones in the 14. As it looks like as well, Al Turner is looking to make a move down the inside of the 89. He sticks his nose in, gets the draft in turn 3. Will he be able to get the exit? He's almost had it. No, he can't quite get the exit, which means Waldo will have the draft going down the front stretch, and there's nothing the 76 can do. He's left out to dry on the outside line, and he's forced to tuck him back behind. Further in front, McDaniel and Ogle once again battling. Thompson is loving this. He's stretching that gap out in front as the battle goes on behind. Still too wide, Ogle and McDaniel. As it looks like Ogle's able to get past McDaniel. Here comes Watts. In the 84 machine, McDaniel goes deep into turn 2. So Dwayne MacArthur leads your second pack. Steve Thompson stretching out a 9/10 gap. The P2. He's on an absolute storm at the moment. He's used the battles behind him to his massive advantage here tonight. As he's stretching the gaps, it looks like though Dwayne MacArthur is setting slightly quicker now. We'll have to wait and see what the pace difference is coming out of turn 3 and across the line. But it looks like that gap is actually starting to come back down again. So now we're single file. Dwayne MacArthur has the draft and the speed to catch back up to Thompson. I think Thompson, though, is pacing himself nicely. He knows they're going to catch, so he's not going to push the tyres too much. He's going to make sure he holds it in there and waits for the perfect opportunity to then maybe use the majority of his tyres, or whatever's left of it, the lap before he pits as he dives down to pit road. Now then, around about now, we may see some strategy calls. We may see some drivers choosing to possibly short pit if they think they're being slowed down a little bit. But it looks like Michael Watson, the 84 machine, having another look down the inside of Greg McDaniel. Can't quite get it done, however, as McDaniel still holds that P4 position, down 2 spots in race started. Starting second, now in 4th place here tonight. Your highest climber, John Hinchcliffe, currently in P9 at the moment. He's up 7 spots from where he started. An absolutely solid job from him. Starting back in P16, working his way up into 9th, and now into 8th, up 8 spots from where he started if you can get this move done around the outside, which he does for John Hinchcliffe. Power Throttle Racing in the 8 machine, making light work of Al Turner. That gap ever the further coming down. Steve Neil Thompson last time by setting a 56.3. Dwayne MacArthur setting a 56.2. So, Dwayne MacArthur 1/10 quicker than Steve Thompson last time by. That gap is closing slowly. Thompson isn't pacing himself that much, or isn't pacing himself that quickly to make sure that he maintains that tyre life which he oh so ever needs. However, we are 1/4 of the way into this race pretty much. Lap 20 of 85. Approximately 13 to 18 laps remaining of this fuel stint. So it looks like we passed the halfway point. So now is where the tyre wear is going to start to show. Drivers who haven't saved their tyres that much are going to start to suffer now and fall down the field, as drivers who have been able to save their tyres a little bit better and a bit more efficient with their steering and throttle inputs will start to make their way up the field and gain ever more positions. As it looks like all of our drivers are still very, very close here tonight. Lap 21, it's all single file still. However though, it's a very long train from start to finish. All the drivers staying pretty close together. Steve Neil Thompson still holding the lead here tonight. Tom Ogle in 3rd place, challenging, getting right into the bumper of MacArthur. But I have the feeling they'll be trying to work together here tonight, and they won't try and push too hard just yet. As we have a battle further back, that's Waldo down the inside of John Hinchcliffe in the 14 machine. Or Eddie Jones, excuse me. Hinchcliffe in the 8, sticking him behind the 14. On the outside line, he's giving him a push. Will Hinchcliffe be able to stay ahead of Waldo? Hinchcliffe is now up 9 spots provisionally from where he started. Waldo has the inside line coming out of turn 1. Who will have the run? Will it be the 8? Will it be the 89? The 8 has the draft. The 89 has the side draft. But looks like he's edged out just about by John Hinchcliffe, up 9 spots from where he started, and he's also on the back of Eddie Jones. He has a look down the inside of turn 2. Can't quite get the move stick at the moment. He's going to stick him behind down the 3rd or the 2nd straightaway even. As it looks like, though, James Waldo is trying once again down the inside of turn 3. Hinchcliffe holding it round the outside. Barely, though. Waldo may have a chance later on in the race. However, if he keeps doing that, he's going to burn up his tyres. If you dive into these corners, put too much pressure on that right front tyre, you won't be able to turn into the tyre, or turn it into the corners, excuse me, as hard as you may want to, which is going to hurt you massively, because if you can't turn in, you're ultimately going to be slower and more vulnerable to the cars around you. Approximately 10 laps left of the stint, and Steve Thompson is still ahead. So he saved his tyres very, very well. Followed by MacArthur and Ogle, your top 3. MacArthur and Ogle both up 2 spots from where they started, as it looks like Ogle backed... Oh, that's not Ogle, sorry. MacArthur backs off and lets Ogle have that second place position. They swap the cars. And it's Eddie Jones round the outside of Hinchcliffe. Hinchcliffe has a look. He tries to move. He's going to have the inside line into one. Who's prepared to carry the more speed? They're both door to door coming on the exit. Eddie Jones edged him out. Here comes Waldo. They're still on that 3 closely knit pack. Eddie Jones is able to edge them out and is leading the 2 behind. Waldo, I think, has managed to edge Hinchcliffe. No, they're still too wide. Hinchcliffe has the inside line in the 8 as he edges. Oh, look at that. Al Turner has gone down the inside of Waldo. Waldo having a little bit of a not very good moment, I suppose. Is Al Turner, I think, thought about going 3 wide as Hinchcliffe chooses to duck out of the draft and go to the back of the pack here today. Doesn't want to be involved in the battle. Doesn't want to burn up his tyres. He wants to make sure he's got as much tyre left as he possibly can to give him the best amount of shot, or the best shot, near to the end of the stint. He's going to let the battle happen in front of him and just take advantage of whatever happens. So at the front of the pack, Michael Watts and Waldo. Michael Watts stays ahead. Eddie Jones now. Al Turner on the inside of Eddie Jones. Oh no, that's not Al Turner. That's Daryl Weininger in the 15 machine. So it looks like Weininger has been able to make his way up. And he's now alongside the 14. He's got past Eddie Jones. Will he get past... Oh, sorry, he's got past Al Turner. Will he get past Eddie Jones? However, our top 3 here tonight, Mule, Thompson, Greg McDaniel and Michael Watts, all choosing to go down pit road on lap 27 of 85, making Tom Ogle your race leader, with Dwayne MacArthur, both of them staying out. 2 friends working very well together here at Pocono. They're making their way up and they're making light work of everyone around them, because it looks like if you work as a team, that is what is helping you and that is what is giving you the edge over your competitors. Because now if they work really well together, put in those good lap times, they may be able to edge out the leaders of before. They may be able to edge out Thompson. They may be able to edge out Watts and McDaniel. But it is important now that the top 3 before, that they work together and make sure they do not lose time. If they battle, they will lose position and there will be a bigger gap at the end of the pit stop. John Hinchcliffe also going down pit road in number 8 machine. As it looks like now the pit stops begin. That is the 9 of Brian Lynch coming out of pit road. He will fall behind the leaders provisionally, but he will make his way past very, very shortly with those fresh tyres, I'm sure. As it looks like Ogle and MacArthur now choosing to go down pit road. Will Waldo follow him? Yes, he does. And I think everyone behind him also choosing to go down pit road now. I think everyone bar Lloyd Moore chooses to go down pit road. Lloyd Moore on the 26, the low man on his own at the moment. He takes the lead of the race. If he stays out for one more lap, he will get points for leading laps here tonight. So will he choose to stretch out this extra 2 to make sure he gets his extra points on the tally as we hit kind of the halfway through point of the season? Points are points. If you can get points and work your way up the standings, why wouldn't you? If it doesn't ruin your race too much. As you pull up the timing tower once again, you can see where your favourite drivers are, how well they're doing after the pit stop stage. So a lot of shuffling about going on down in pit road. Jason Fellerbaum also in the 57 machine. Haven't seen much of him tonight. He's 5.7 seconds behind our leader at the moment, and he's looking to go long again. 30 laps gone in this race, and I feel like the drivers may have pitted early because instead of fuel, this may be a tyre limited race. So it's really critical that you keep those tyres in a good operating window and don't get caught lacking with the worn out tyres, because that means you would lose position and you'd fall back quickly. So it looks like the kind of shorter stints but keeping the fresher tyres is the optimal choice here tonight, as most teams are choosing. 5.7 seconds the gap between Lloyd Moore and Jason Fellerbaum. Fellerbaum, I think, is starting to close in that gap. 5.4 seconds it is now, so he is definitely closing. However, these drivers haven't gone down pit road just yet. As we pull up our pit strategy board here tonight, you can see the first driver to pit in our lineup is currently John Hinchcliffe. Edging him out there in 7th place is Steve Thompson. That makes sense. There we go. Thompson in 7th, Watson 8th, Clark in 9th, and McDaniel in 10th place. As Lloyd Moore goes down pit road, taking the extra points for leading laps, and he goes down into pit road. Fellerbaum, your new leader in the 57 machine. However, though, at the moment, your overall leader, your net leader, is Stephen Mule Thompson in 5th place at the moment. He's on 4-lap old tyres. However, what's behind him, the gap is relatively large, 1.3 seconds it is. However, Watts does have 1-lap fresher tyres, and if it is a tyre limited race, that could come into factor later on in the stint before we hit our second pit stops of the day. As we have pit considerably before the halfway point, I would only have to assume that the majority of these drivers are going for a 2-stop strategy. As there's battling going on further back, that is Ogle in the battle with James Waldo and Brian Lindsay. I'm not quite sure what happens to the 11 machine, but he's fallen back and he's now falling short as well of his teammate, so he maybe stretched a little bit further past his pit stall and wasn't quite able to get the pit time that he would have wanted, losing time on pit road. He's going to have to make it up, but as the gaps get bigger, it is very, very difficult to close the gaps here tonight. It is very, very difficult to edge your opponents out on pace and still have enough tyres left to overtake them at the end. So these gaps are absolutely massive and are really, really significant for these drivers. Ellerborn, very, very interestingly, is choosing to stay out, as now on lap 34 of 85, he'll be approaching the limits of his fuel, so it looks like he's trying to stretch it as long as he can, because the pressure tyres later on in the stint will mean he's quicker, but also equally the drivers who have just pitted are going to be on fresher tyres, and they're going to close that gap, which means he's going to be quite a way behind the pack once he goes down pit road. Also Pishka as well, also hasn't gone down pit road, 3.1 seconds behind our leader at the moment in the one machine. As we go on to lap 35 of 85, we're still under halfway to go here today. Halfway point not being for another 7 laps here tonight. So anything can happen in that time. We're still very, very early on. As we see the battle for 7th place. Waldo edging the pack, followed by Ogle, Lindsay Jones and Hinchcliffe in 11th place. Tagging onto the back of the pack. And you can see Jones in the 14 machine just a little bit back there in the distance. He'll be looking to see if there's any battling going on and to maybe close that gap to the pack and join in for the battle for 7th place. But for now, Ogle is stuck behind Waldo, which is not very good for his points at the moment. And really isn't where he really doesn't want to be there. He wants to be with the leaders. He wants to be with Thompson. He wants to be with Watts, McDaniel and MacArthur. But he's stuck behind Waldo. And we're making our way around, still single file here tonight. Nothing too interesting going on in the terms of wheel-to-wheel racing at the moment, as it looks like Rick Nitz has just gone down pit road. And only just recently made his way out. As you can see him on the pit exit line down there. Fellerbaum still staying out. This has to be his last lap of fuel. Surely he's going to go in at the end of this lap. 38 laps was the word from the drivers for the pit length here today. We'll have to see if he dives down. I can hear those revs dropping. Is he going to pull to the left of that yellow line? Yes, he does. So finally, Fellerbaum goes down pit road after taking the points. Interestingly though, Dakota Pishka, who also hasn't gone down pit road, is going to go for another lap here today. However though, Thompson only 2.2 seconds behind him, and he's already made a pit stop. So Pishka is going to fall down the order massively with this one. He needs to make sure he gets this stop pitch perfect in order to maybe tag onto the back of the pack. He will have very, very fresh tyres compared to everyone else around him, but will he be able to use it, catch up, and then have enough tyres to overtake at the end? Like, ooh, can't speak here today. Pishka in the number 1 machine dives down pit road on that 38, going 39 here at Pocono, making like, I can't get words out here today, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Thompson in the 67 machine takes over that number 1 spot once again, taking that lead back. 5 tenths back is Watts, then McDaniel, MacArthur and Waldo, your top 5. MacArthur and McDaniel working together bumper to bumper to catch up to our 2 leaders in front. It looks like they took a little bit longer down pit road than their rivals. So they're trying to make up that time on track. However, though, comes with making up time, comes more tyre wear. If they aren't able to save the tyres and have the same amount of tyre at the end once they reach them, they could then drop off again, or just not able to get that move done. And they will start to fall off the back again. Because in this middle stint, it is very, very crucial to not over push those tyres. I've done it a lot of times before. In this second stint, when you come out in clean air, it is very, very easy to over push those tyres. So you don't have anyone really around you and not as many people to go off. So you don't know if you're saving your tyres or burning them up too much. So time will tell whether or not one of these drivers has fallen for that. However, 2 seconds the gap between McDaniel and Watts, and 0.6 the gap between Watts and Thompson. As you ride on the nose with Dre MacArthur, you can see that Kimball 35 machine, or the number 30 machine. Oh, there's a big check up from the 30. Letting McDaniel past. That was interesting. Maybe these drivers are thinking of something which I can't. So it's now McDaniel leading the charge to Watts ahead. 1.1 second the gap is now to Michael Watts. And 1 second the gap between Watts and Thompson. As we're still making our way around on that 44 of 85. Your top three, Stephen Mule Thompson, followed by Watts and Dwayne MacArthur. Although right behind Dwayne MacArthur you have Greg McDaniel. However, then you have the second charge, Waldo and Ogle. Tom Ogle, a guy you see time and time again, up near that top spot, but at the moment is all the way down in 6th with a pretty sizable gap to our leader. 4.6 seconds it is to Thompson in the 67, which is a very, very long way. As we follow around, you can just see Tom Ogle just staying in that rear view mirror, just waiting for an opportunity to overtake, or just try and stick him behind, try and work together to try and get back up to that front pack here today. What will they do? What strategy will they choose? As it seems, Michael Watts has dropped back. Was in second place, now down in fourth place as Dwayne MacArthur takes that second place spot. However, he's 3.1 seconds behind our leader. He's making their way around. We can see in the background Tom Ogle is going down the inside of Michael Watts to take the position, following Waldo, making his way up into 5th place here today. Will Waldo be able to push back in behind and get the move done, or will he satisfied for that 6th place? Will he try and challenge Waldo once again? Will Tom Ogle, or will he try and stick him behind and try and catch back up to the back of McDaniel? McDaniel is ahead, and he can see him. He's not that far away anymore. About 1.5 seconds it is from Waldo to McDaniel. Or correction, Ogle to McDaniel. Here at Pocono, the tricky triangle is proving very tricky to overtake, surprisingly enough. It is very, very difficult to get that move down the inside, because it's very difficult to carry the speed and not put that much pressure on that inside front. We haven't seen a lot of drivers go for it, and when they have, it hasn't come out well for them. However though, as we pass the halfway point and we're going green all the way so far on that 48 of 85, I don't want to put the commentator's curse on it, but you can see the massive gap between 1st and 2nd place. 4.3 seconds the gap is now. So that gap is getting bigger and bigger. Looks like Dwayne MacArthur was 2/10 quicker than Thompson last time by, but overall that gap is getting bigger between Steve Thompson and MacArthur. As we're going to ride a lap on board with Eddie Jones here tonight, who is down 1 spot from where he began. He's now in 8th place, started 7th. He's kind of in a little bit of clean air, so he can see what it is like to drive a lap here at Pocono. With those semi-worn tyres, you're going to hear how careful he is on the throttle. And on the exit, that outside wall can come at you very, very quickly. And once you get into there, give you aero damage, which is going to slow down the straights massively. So it's really, really important that you do not hit that wall on the outside line. Not many people have hit it so far, so it's going pretty well so far. However, it looks like easy is the way to go here tonight. We are seeing a little bit of variation in how the drivers choose to approach the beginning of turn 3. Whether they take a wider line to cut back inside, risk those rear tyres, or hold the inside like Eddie Jones just did, all the way through the corner. As we can see, Steve Thompson kind of in a world of his own at the moment. On that 50 of 85, through the halfway point, he's looking really good in this race. However though, there is another lot of pit stops to go. Will he be able to ace it again? Or will he fall back the order and lose the time that he gained? However, he's shown us that he can master the pit stops. So surely he'll be able to master it again. And maybe stretch that gap even more, or maybe just hold where it is. But you can see the massive distance there is between MacArthur and Thompson. Thompson is just doing a brilliant job out there. He's holding that gap and is doing a great job of keeping the pace up, as he was just over a tenth quicker than MacArthur next time by. Jesus. I really need a lap, ladies and gentlemen. I am one tired man today. Making our way through, it looks like staying in 5th gear is the preferred way to go around this track, as it saves you the fuel. Now, if you're running in 4th, you may have a slightly better corner entry, but it may compromise you on exit with the tyres and with the fuel. So it looks like you're not really disadvantaging yourself, but it's really just to level yourself out with the field to stay in that 5th gear. 2.7 is the gap between P1 and P2. And it doesn't look like it's going down anytime soon either. Steve Thompson showing us how it's done here tonight. However though, Tom Ogle was quite a way behind the leader. Now only 3.6 seconds. So he's been released. And it looks like him and Waldo are doing a very good job. And they're almost catching up to the back of McDaniel now as well. As we move our way back, MacArthur has got past McDaniel. Here's MacArthur, McDaniel, then Waldo, and then Ogle in the 11. McDaniel is now at mercy from the 3 guys behind him. As you can see, there's also a pack building behind, as headed by Eddie Jones, followed by Al Turner and Michael Watts. As you pull up the battle box for the battles for 2nd place here today. Both the muck drivers followed by Waldo and Ogle. Ogle is looking to capitalise because he knows he has the pace. However, he also knows there are more pit stops and there is more opportunity to gain time and play the alternate strategy game to get ahead on track. So he's still got to be patient and play his race out. Still a long way to go. 54 of 85 here tonight. 31 laps remain. Which is still a sizable amount. We've gone green the whole way so far in the Metro 4 Cup Series. However though, I'm surely expecting at least one caution to happen. Surely someone's going to launch it down the inside, make a stupid move, or maybe they won't. These drivers in the Old Bastards Racing League are very smart and very well collected as well. We know they're very good at being patient, working together and playing the moves at the right times. We've only seen a little bit of contact when drivers have gone too wide, and it doesn't seem to cause that much. Ooh, McDaniel chosen to go down pit road, and so does Steve Thompson. Both of them choosing to short pit once again, so they're not disadvantaged with the older tyres. They also did pit early on to begin with. So Steve Thompson, Greg McDaniel, Brian Lindsay, Dale Weininger and Lee Wordsdale also jumping down pit road for their final stop of the night. So then, MacArthur takes over the lead, followed by Waldo and Ogle, your top 3. Working our way around turn 3. MacArthur has edged a little bit of the gap to Waldo behind, as it looks like all 3 of them are going to go down pit road as well. You can see Waldo diving on the brakes there, gaining a little bit of distance to MacArthur in front, but they still remain in the same order. The 83, then the 89, then the 11 going down pit road. So then, as Lloyd Moore also goes down pit road as well, most drivers choosing to go down pit road this time by, apart from Robert Carrasco, the Last Ditch Racing 28 driver staying out on that 56 of 85 of the Metro 4 Cup Series round 21. As you can see, Carrasco peaking off at nearly 180 miles an hour just for a second there. Coming into turn 2. These drivers bringing massive speed. And with that speed, the tyres are just about holding on. It is a very high tyre degradation track. And is also very easy to overpush the tyres. So it's very important you don't carry too much speed into the corners and brake too late. You put too much pressure on those front tyres. In really importantly, the front right, because that is the limiting factor at tracks like this. Maybe to turn 3, your right rear maybe push a little bit, but ultimately that front right is where it matters, and the front right you need to save the most. And the way you do that is you want to steer less, put less fuel, sorry, not less fuel, but you want to put less balance. Kind of don't force the car over the wheel. You want to put a little amount of pressure while still making it round relatively quickly as possible. The 28 machine choosing to go long for his second stint before the final pit stop, and then the final stint. Stephen Mule Thompson still out in first, followed by Dakota Pishka, who also hasn't gone down pit road for the second time. Greg McDaniel all the way, I'll say all the way down, he's now down the inside of Pishka, taking that third place spot, as they're still pretty close behind. So McDaniel has done a good job in sticking behind. And not losing that much time. Now then, that gap has got smaller. Very much so. 8 tenths the gap. 8.5 tenths between our leaders now. So Steve Thompson not acing pit road as well as he did before. He's still out in the lead, but not by that much. Only drivers not to pit yet in the top 10 is Carrasco and Eddie Jones. Most drivers going 57 laps on those tyres. Wait, hold on. That can't be right, surely. Surely they haven't gone 57 laps. I think that may be a little bit of an issue with the software, because I'm pretty sure they have made a stop already, because 57 laps is a little bit further than I think that the car can make on full fuel. So, take that with a pinch of salt. But you can see which drivers have chosen to go down pit road so far. All your top 7 have gone down pit road at the moment. Apart from Pishka in 4th place, who's only made his first stop of the night after going 39 laps. He's had 19 laps on those tyres so far, so in theory he does have 20 laps remaining, but he will have to go for that final splash and dash as he doesn't have quite enough fuel to make it to the end of the race. So he's kind of forced himself into a 2-stop strategy there. We'll have to wait and see if he short pits or stretches the tyres out again, because he is in 4th place at the moment, and if he can stick with the top 3, or even really stay inside of the top 10, he could maybe serve with a chance if there's the big gaps behind him. Five and a half tenths the gap. McDaniel is back in the draft of Thompson. It's the first time Thompson has had pressure in around about 40 laps. Here at Pocono, the 57 machine, I keep misreading the numbers. It's the 67 machine. 5 and 7 look very similar. 67 machine, as I was saying, it's the first time he's had pressure in a long time in this race. So will he try and push a little bit too hard to keep McDaniel behind? Or will McDaniel try and force Thompson into doing so? Will he maybe try and force him to burn up his tyres by taking alternate lines or going defensive? And just sticking him behind, waiting for the perfect moment. But it looks like the win will be between these two if they keep their tyres in check. Thompson and McDaniel both ahead by 3.4 seconds to MacArthur. MacArthur also in no man's land, 3 seconds in front and 3 seconds behind to Waldo in the 89. And also Ogle was closely following Waldo. Ogle wasn't quite able to maximise those pit stops and didn't get past the drivers around him. So now he's getting back onto the back of Waldo. Will he try and make a move? Because I think it's getting to the point now with 25 laps to go. You've got to start thinking about your moves when you start, or when you may go for that overtake. Because there's only so much time you can lose before it really becomes too late to gain that time back once again. 3/10 the gap between our leaders now. Greg McDaniel getting really, really close to the back of Thompson. This is his time. Will he bide his time though? Will he make the move straight away? Or will he chill in behind, save his tyres and wait for later on in the race where Thompson cannot respond to him in the critical moment to get past? Now then, 3/10 is very, very close. 3/10 he has the draft, which means he will be able to lift off into the corners and gain the time back in the draft which he lost, which is going to be massive. Thompson has to keep his foot on the loud pedal as constantly as he can because he can't afford to lose time because he is the leader. He has no one to draft off in front of him, so no one to gain that time back off. And if he lifts off, Greg McDaniel will be straight on him and he may try and make a move. So really, he has no option but to not tyre save or tyre save less in order to keep McDaniel behind. McDaniel knows this and he's going to try and use that to his advantage. Our top two, both in their own world, doing a brilliant job here tonight. Thompson has led start to finish. McDaniel has been challenging. The guys who started first and second on the grid are battling for first and second. So it looks like the drivers who are also quick on the 1 lap pace has shown very, very strong pace also in these long race runs. Both of them choosing to go for the short pit, not taking the whole length of fuel that you can. So it definitely shows this track is really tyre limited. And tyre is the limiting factor in how quick you can make your stints go. Now, McDaniel is slowly closing on MacArthur is slowly closing on McDaniel. Only slightly though. MacArthur was, last time by, he set an identical lap time. But I think this time by, he may gain a tenth or two. As our gap is now 2.9 seconds. That isn't quite enough though. 23 laps. You really need to be gaining a little bit more than that. In order to get back onto the 30 and still have a reasonable amount of time to get past him. Still 3/10 the gap. You can see MacArthur just behind once again. He's in clean space. He has clean space in front of him. Clean air behind him. He's got to focus on not burning up those tyres too much. As last time by, Dwayne MacArthur set a 55.16, which is 3/10 quicker than Greg McDaniel in front. So Dwayne MacArthur is showing the pace, but is he burning up his tyres too much? 22 laps remain of this race, and if he keeps up this pace, he may be able to tag on to our top two in front. We'll have to wait and see. As that gap goes back up to 2.9 seconds, so that may have just been a one-lap wonder, and maybe he isn't able to consistently hold that pace. We'll have to wait and see if he manages to catch up. 2.8 seconds isn't a lot, but when you're trying to catch back up to the back of the leaders, you got to hope they start battling, because that's really where you're going to start gaining all your time. As you look at the lap times this time by then, Dwayne MacArthur half a tenth slower than Greg McDaniel. So it looks like it's very inconsistent whether or not they can gain time on each other. McDaniel all over the back of Thompson. Thompson knows that. As McDaniel does have a look down the inside there. I don't think he's trying to go for a move. That may just be the line he's taking. Because 2/10 still is the gap. He has 20 laps to make the move. He doesn't have to make it now. Now is a little bit early. Because you want to make sure you still have the tyres till the end of the race. You really want to start pushing near to the end. So you know you're going to be able to make it to the end of the race. And not drop back because you burnt up your tyres too much. Joe MacArthur once again half a tenth slower than Greg McDaniel last time by. That time really is staying the same between second and third place. So unless something happens in front of him and Thompson and McDaniel start fighting, I really think that the battle for the lead will only be between these top two here tonight. As we're still running green flag with 19 laps to go. So then, as we move back to the battle for fourth place, Ogle is still trying to work with Waldo. However, looking at that pace, Waldo set a 54.46, which is only a tenth quicker than Dwayne MacArthur last time by. And that gap is still pretty sizable. Still about 3 seconds, 4 seconds is the gap between James Waldo and Dwayne MacArthur. So really, it looks like these two are going to catch him. We know Ogle does have pace, but how long is he going to leave this until he realises, you know, I'm not going to get past Waldo, or I'm not going to even get a chance to get at MacArthur if I don't pass him. He knows he has pace, so will he try and get past and then push on his own for the sake of his own race? I think my chair needs a bit of WD-40, but that's not for the broadcast. 17 laps to go here tonight at Pocono. We're still going green all the way. If you just tuned in, Steve the Mule Thompson has been leading start to finish. Started on pole, currently leading the race. And our second place driver, Greg McDaniel, also challenging closely behind. Number 30 machine even. I keep getting them mixed up and I keep reading the numbers wrong. The number 30, Greg McDaniel, is right behind him, challenging for the lead of the race. With 16 laps to go, the time is ticking for Greg McDaniel. He is right behind, and there is lap traffic ahead. Lap traffic almost means trouble here at the Tricky Triangle at Pocono, because it's very, very difficult to get out of the way and not lose so much time, especially when you're battling with other people. You want to lose as little time as possible with letting these cars by. So, as you approach backmarker traffic, could this help out Dwayne MacArthur? Could it help out Waldo and Ogle? We'll have to wait and see. Right then, the first car to be let past the 91, the Mountain Dew machine of... Who is that? I must be reading a number wrong, surely. I'm not quite sure who that was who just ducked out of the way. However, Steve Thompson didn't lose time that time. So Greg McDaniel stays 5 tenths behind. .2 seconds to gap though between Dwayne MacArthur and Greg McDaniel, so that is coming down. That's time by Dwayne. Actually, I say that they both set identical lap times within 1,000th of a second. Greg McDaniel and Dwayne McArthur did, both setting a 54.53 respectively. However, though, this race is not looking quite as good for Tom Ogle. He started in P5 and he is currently P5. I think he had a highest of first place as he chose to extend by a couple laps over the first stint and was running in third place for a short while. However, the number 11 machine isn't having the best day out here tonight as he's still stuck behind James Waldo and the 89 machine. As there's the 91 getting out of the way. Ah, that is Chris Clark, who is getting out of the way there, doing a great job, not impeding on the leaders at all, giving them the best chance to carry on racing and to not interfere at all. However, McDaniel is back onto the rear of Thompson, 2/10 the gap, and he's all over that rear bumper. Is he going to try and make the move with 13 laps to go? They're still battling with 13 laps to go. McDaniel still checking in behind the 67. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Jason Fellenborn there. He's going up and down the order. Was in P5, I think, for a second there on the software. Must be a little bit of a glitch. However, Dwayne McArthur is still in no man's land here. He's got around about 3 seconds behind and around about 3 seconds ahead. He hasn't got anyone to go off in terms of pace. It looks like that gap isn't looking like it's going to get any bigger or any smaller anytime soon. With 12 laps to go, 11 laps now crossing the line. It's just running out of time for these drivers to make a move. Now is the time to working your way up the pack. Now is the time to start making those moves. As the battle for the lead continues, with lap traffic starting to become a factor. These two drivers at the front pushing their next-gen Cup cars to the absolute limit. It's a constructor battle between Toyota and Chevrolet here tonight for the win. Chevrolet kind of dominates the field here tonight. Has the most amount of cars out on field. There are some more Ford Mustangs near to the bottom of the pack. But really, it's kind of between Toyota and Chevrolet here up at the front. The two Toyota drivers being third and fourth being James Waldo and Steve Thompson. However, your second, third, and then your fifth, sixth as well are all Chevrolet Camaros. Chevrolet doing very, very well in the constructors' fight. Obviously, operating nearly, I think, half of the cars on the field, so it's not quite as maybe as challenging. However, though, The leaders still fight on as we go 9 laps to go across the line. As tension rises between the 67 and the 30. Does the 30 of McDaniel have the pace to get past Steve Thompson in these dying moments? Will he try and make the move now and get it over and done with? Or will he try and risk it, make the move as late as possible and just give it absolutely everything? As we jump on board with the number 30 machine, we can see how he's pushing the cars to the limits, taking different lines to Steve Thompson in front of him, trying something different, trying to get that exit out of the turn 3 and onto the main straightaway. 8 laps to go here at Pocono, shifting into 5th gear now. Fuel saving isn't really a thing anymore. The drivers can do whatever they want pretty much, because fuel isn't the limiting factor. Shifting down into 4th gear is Thompson, is McDaniel even, to try and get that exit, trying to get those revs up to give the car the best amount of launch as he can out of the corner. 8 laps to go, 1/10 the gap, bumper to bumper between the 30 and the 67. The battle for the lead continues. As these two drivers at the front are still pushing their cars to the absolute limits now. Thompson wants to build the gap, but McDaniel says no. He is sticking in behind that bumper, and he is giving all the pressure to the 67. He's surely got to be feeling it now. With 6 laps to go, if he makes a mistake, McDaniel's going to pounce on him straight away. Absolutely ruthless, I believe he will be, because he needs to be really to get this position. As we're rolling away now onto lap 80 as we cross the line. 6 laps to go here tonight. This battle for the lead has been going on for the whole of this third stint, as McDaniel takes a massive peek down the inside, doesn't quite get the move stick, or doesn't quite even decide to make the move, but he's still sticking in behind that bumper of the 67, waiting for the perfect opportunity. However, as I keep saying, the timer is ticking. He only has 5 laps left to do it as he gets ever and ever closer. As we're watching from the gearbox of Steve Thompson, so we can truly see how close McDaniel in the 30 machine is getting. Surely all he can see at the moment is McDaniel, really. All he can see is that blue, white and yellow Chevrolet Camaro in his rearview mirror, and that's got to be intimidating. Surely that's got to be really intimidating, because you see that in your rearview mirror and you just know if anything happens, he could try and dive for a move at any time. God knows if and when he will try to make that move. And you see McDaniel really pushing it on corner entry. Starting to lose a little bit on corner exit, but he gains it back when he's in the draft. 2/10 the gap now between our leaders. 4 laps to go here at Pocono. The timer is still running out. However, we look to a battle slightly further back. Kevin Huff is having a battle with Glasgow in the 28 machine as they go too wide down the main pit straight. The 46er Kevin Huff on the inside line does have the edge over the 28. The 28 with the outside line. Who will take it? This is the battle for 12th place in the standings here tonight as they get door-to-door contact in turn 1. As it looks like Glasgow on the outside line takes it. We'll look back to our leaders now, as they're really embedded in the traffic, as it looks like a lap car gets in between our leaders. McDaniel has lost time to Thompson ahead. He's got to give it his all now. 3 laps to go out of turn 2. That has really not helped him. The lap traffic has not helped Greg McDaniel any one bit here tonight now. You can see the gap is still 7.5 tenths per second, so we'll have a draft. But is he close enough to make a move? Will he get close enough to make a move? That is the question. 6 tenths, so he's getting 1/10 out of turn 2, but he only has 3 laps to make a move. So as soon as he gets to him, he's got to make a dive. He has to. That's his only way, unless Thompson Head makes a mistake, which I don't think he will. Thompson has the draft of the lap cars in front, so McDaniel won't gain on him down this straight. He'll be able to tag along and just about hold on, but he will not be able to catch up. Thompson is down the inside of the next lap car. Five tenths to gap. McDaniel is closing, but will he be closing enough to catch? You can see slightly further back, Dwayne MacArthur is starting to become under threat from James Waldo and Tom Ogle. So it looks like, yeah, MacArthur has dropped off about a second to McDaniel in front. However, though, also Ogle and Waldo have done a great job in terms of lap times and has gained back up to the 83. So this could be a last minute battle also for 3rd place. But we want to go back to where the drama is. Oh, 1 second it is the gap as McDaniel gets drawn out with more lap traffic. Are you battling Thompson onto the white flag lap? Has a 1.1 second lead. Unless anything happens now, this could be it. We have a battle further back. MacArthur weaving over the track. Waldo and Ogle closely following behind. The gap is around about 5 tenths of a second. So he does have a gap there. But will it be enough coming out of turn 3? As we move our way back, 1 corner to go for Stephen Thompson. He's led from the beginning. He leads through the final laps. He leads on the final lap. Steve Thompson in the 67 comes home to win the race at Pocono. Followed by McDaniel and MacArthur round your top 3. Waldo, then Ogle. We're still waiting for the rest of the drivers to cross the line. Eddie Jones is going to come home in 6th, followed by Turner, Lindsay, Lynch and Carrasco provisionally your top 10. Little bit of a chaotic finish. Lap cars coming into factor here. However, though, no cautions tonight. All the way from start to finish. Green flag all the way. That was a pretty good race, I must say. Definitely enough to commentate on. Maybe not as many overtakes, but drama going on in the race as well. As the 67 lines up onto the line to get the all-important screenshots with the top 3. And then maybe we'll see some burnouts depending. So then, 67 Thompson bringing home the win, followed by McDaniel and then MacArthur. As the burnouts begin, showing some smoke from the 67 in celebration, he deserves that one for sure. As we're just waiting for our drivers to make their way out of the cars and into the waiting room for our post-race interviews here at Pocono tonight. We're just waiting on MacArthur and Thompson to jump down before we can get these interviews underway. So then, we'll pull up our race results here tonight. We'll also wait for our drivers to jump down into the broadcast booth in just a minute. So then, crucially at the end, McDaniel 1.9 seconds behind because of lap traffic. Really not ideal for him, really. Not really what he would have wanted. Considering with 3 laps to go, he was right behind him. Waiting for our final driver to come into the commentary booth, which is coincidentally the first one I want to interview. You know what, whilst we're waiting, we'll pull up the number 30 machine. Greg McDaniel, you looked on for the win there. You were right behind Steve Thompson coming into the dying laps, but then it looked like lap traffic became a factor. What was going on in those final laps, and how annoyed were you that you got held up?
Yeah, I don't know. I had a couple chances to try to make a move on him all week during our practices on Friday and Saturday. Steve was fast. He's really good here. But I was trying some things, trying to stay really close to him. I didn't want to get out of line and let the guys behind us catch up. At one time, Dwayne was 2 seconds behind us, and then as long as we stayed in line, we were putting a couple tenths a lap on the guys behind us. And then yeah, it got ruined. Too many cards, and one card definitely did not give way to me, which totally screwed me up, and I lost a lot of time having to deal with that. But second's really good. That's 2 weeks in a row for second, and hopefully a win's coming my way one of these days.
Yeah, hopefully it will. But don't go wrong, you were saying second is still a second is good points for the championship, and it definitely doesn't. Well, yeah, it's not really the end of the world, really. But is there anyone, kind of friends, family, sponsors you'd like to shout out before we sign off?
Yep, I'd like to thank Metro Ford, Chicago Ford, Patrick Milligan for his sponsorship of this league. Also, Victory Lane Sports and Kim Bull. Want to thank all the admins in this league. This is a fantastic league. I couldn't imagine a league out there that's better than this one. So, thank you to all the admins, Steve and Dwayne, and everybody else. My girlfriend Sharon, thank you very much, and the bowlers here at Kimball. And I seem like I'm forgetting something, but I'll and to you guys for the broadcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Greg. It's been brilliant.
Have a good one.
Yeah, that was Greg McDaniel. However, though, coming home in third place, Dwayne MacArthur in the 83 machine. Now, you were kind of in no man's land for that whole kind of second stint of the race. You had 3 seconds behind you and 3 seconds in front of you. You didn't really have anyone to go off in terms of how you want to pace yourself. So what was kind of the mindset going into it? Were you trying to catch up with the guys in front? Were you trying to maintain the gap and bring home the third place? Because I know Waldo and Opal were getting pretty close near to the end there.
Yeah, kind of came out of the pits on an island there. It was a lonely run. They were tandem in front, tandem behind. I'm surprised I hung on to where I was, to be honest. So it was Bit of a boring ride, the last stint.
However, though, in the first 2 stints, you're working really, really well with Tom Ogle in the number 11 machine, working your way through the pack as well. I know you guys aren't teammates, but you're working really well together. You must be good friends.
Yeah, I mean, if you can work with the 11, it's never a bad thing. Tom's a good driver. I trust him. He's not going to hook me unless my car number is 14. He's not going to turn me. So, no, we work well together. He's a good friend of mine. So, it was working out.
Yeah, you definitely put up a good show there. However, though, is there any friends, family, sponsors, of course, that you would like to give a nice big shout out to before we sign off here tonight?
Yeah, I'll just say thanks to our sponsors, Metro Ford Chicago, emetroford.com, kimbowl.net, Victory Lane Sports. Without them, we couldn't keep it going. And then with just a big shout out to everybody here in the league showing up, making it a great place to race, racing the right way, and keeping us going each week. And thanks for you for filling in with James this week. And that's about it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dwayne. Hopefully, we'll see you in the booth next week.
Yeah, I hope so. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Finley.
Yeah. That was Dwayne MacArthur finishing in 3rd place. However, though, Stephen Thompson showing pace all the way through the weekend, qualifying in 1st place, showing out the 1-lap pace and the long stint pace as well. Showing he had a massive gap as well to Greg McDaniel and the other cars behind you. Near to the end, there was kind of a battle going on. But what really is the secret to unlocking the pace here at Pocono?
I just practiced hard and just kept doing my same pace, trying to stay on my same line. And then that first pit stop, I went in earlier, and that really gave me a lead. But dang, Greg McDaniel, he followed me in on that second stop, and he had a hell of a stop. I was like, oh man, I was a little too weak going into the pits. But with lap traffic and stuff, I got lucky there and got him.
Yeah, touching on that near to the end, that battle looked on for the final lap of the race, but then lap cars held up McDaniel behind, and he finished 2 seconds behind you. How do you feel about that?
I mean, those guys need to move out of the way. I mean, I know they're running for spots, but if they're ever up there running, they'll understand what's going on. I mean, I'd be mad if I was him, but I was happy it happened for me.
Of course, it helped you get the win. Of course, you would like it, but of course, the lap cars do need to get out of the way, and that kind of is their duty. You don't really want to be held up, especially when you're running for the lead of the race. But you are the final man here tonight to give your shout out. So, is there any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to give that shout out to before we finish off tonight's stream?
Yeah, first I want to thank all the admins that help run this league. We got Eddie Jones, Dwayne MacArthur, Dakota Pinsky, Brian Lindsay, Robert Crisco, and anyways, those guys do a great job keeping this thing going. I want to thank my wife Wendy for supporting me in racing and letting me, she likes it. I go race and maybe get out of her hair. And then I want to thank my sponsor, Dr. Amy Horniman. She's a thyroid doctor, and if anybody's having thyroid issues and they're never feeling good and their doctor just keeps giving them T4, go see Dr. Amy. My wife has thyroid. That's how we met her, and she saved my wife's life, and she's made her into a new feisty woman, if that's a good thing. But check her out, dramyhorniman.com. If you're a guy, she can help you out with weight loss, and she's got a whole string of vitamins and supplements that she uses for keto diet, and it works. I mean, I lost 40 pounds in like 3 months doing her deal. So check it out, dramyhorniman.com. And of course, thanks to you and James for broadcasting our events. We really appreciate the job you guys do.
Thank you very much. That's also a brilliant and heartwarming story to hear, Steve. Yeah, hopefully we'll see you on the podium for next week.
Yeah, that's another good tracks for me. So big flat tracks are good.
All right then, see you, buddy.
Thank you.
That was Steve Thompson, your leader here tonight. Reflecting on that race, though, it was very, very interesting because there wasn't much overtaking, but there was a lot of difference with the pit strategy. Whether or not you pitted and what lap you pitted really was a deciding factor, really, on how big these gaps were. So your top three, Stephen Thompson, Greg McDaniel, both of those top two profiting massively from their pit strategy. Dream MacArthur not being as fortunate. Same with Tom Ogle as well, finishing 5th place is where he qualified, so he didn't end up going down spots, but it definitely wasn't really where he would have wanted to finish. However, our hardest climber here tonight looks to be Kevin Huff in the 46 machine, up 14 spots from where he started. Absolutely massive. He qualified all the way back in P25 and made his way up to P11. So a really good job from him. However, though, reading through our race results here tonight, obviously you have your top three, followed by James Wardle, Tom Ogle, Eddie Jones finishing 6th, Al Turner finishing 7th, followed by Brian Lindsay, Darryl Weininger, Michael Watts, Lee Worsdale, John Hinchcliffe starting 12th, Robert Carrasco finishing 13th, followed by Kevin Huff, Brian Lynch, Jason Fellerborn, John Hastings, followed by Dakota Peter, followed by Donnie Sanders, Joe Bushme, followed by Larry Corey, Johnny Jackson, Chris Sidnall, followed by Brian Williams, Rick Nitz, Lloyd Moore, I really can't read names today, Jeff Miller, Chris Clark, and then Mike Schrader. 69 laps down, unfortunately. A nice number, but not quite the finishing position he may have possibly hoped for. However, that is your final race results here tonight. On behalf of Team Goon Squad, my name is Finney Fitzsimmons. It's been a brilliant day broadcasting, and we'll hopefully see you for next week's broadcast. See you later, everyone.